With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
After a very interesting race last time out for the PRL Cup Series, we now continue on with some more great racing action as we head out in Kansas. And we welcome you to RaceSpotTV's coverage of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series here tonight, and we are happy to have you with us here for tonight's racing action. Before, of course, we get things going, we, of course, have to say thank you to a wide variety of our amazing partners here for tonight's racing action here as we get ready to watch some of the great racing here at the Kansas Speedway. First up, of course, we have to say thank you to the VCO, as this is brought to you by the VCO, of course, a great organization. Make sure to go check them out on their website at thevco.org to learn more about this amazing competition organization, as they just wrapped up, of course, the 10 hours of the Suzuka round over the weekend. Of course, next up is the Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitive pricing and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceboxSimRacing.com and get 5% discount using the promo code Precision5. Also brought to you by RaceLab Apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integrations. You get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelabs.app. Also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products and incredible immersions and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And finally, by NinjaTrader, ready to compete against the financial market. Supported over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading and softwares and brokerage service. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And of course, good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Burris as we get ready to watch the action here. This is, of course, we just wrapped up a great round at Phoenix to end the NASCAR season, but we still have 2 more rounds left in this championship. Kansas Speedway and the Chicagoland Speedway to wrap up the championship here in Season 4 of 2022. And as we take a look at the championship, 2 drivers have already guaranteed their spots into the Final Four, as 2 more look to clinch their way through, and it is a tight one as Joshua Daniels and Richard Reagan Jr., as well as Chris Hudson, are some of the main players that definitely are going to be fighting it out for those final 2 spots in the overall championship. But as for the Season 4 championship, Richard Reagan is looking to see if he can try and clinch this championship, but he has Trent Dingle, Joshua Daniels, Chris Hudson not too far behind in the hunt for this championship in Season 4. Taking a little bit further look at the team standings, though, it's a little bit different. Phase 2 Chassis Work is looking to try and break the stranglehold of the private label Team Hype drivers for Season 4 here. As we've seen, they have continuously done so Season 1 through 3, but Phase 2 Chassis Work is looking to try and change the situation here tonight with this championship run, and if they're able to do well, they may be able to clinch the championship here after this race. As we are getting set and ready to go for qualifying action out on the racing circuit here tonight at the Kansas Speedway, drivers getting their first few runs in tonight's action. As they make the run down the back straightaway here, drivers are going to be a little bit finicky on how the racing will be here. Of course, normally we see drivers utilizing the outside lane, which we'll see them do here for the time being in these early qualifying stages, but a lot of drivers are also been saying that the bottom line will be also the way to go, especially longer into the run, where you feel like you're going to have to dance with an egg underneath your foot pedal in order to get through around this circuit. Joao Guerrero is currently out on the track with the number 51 machine, as his Toyota is trying to get a good run here for this stage of this race as he continues on with this championship run here. As we continue on watching the action and keeping an eye on Joao Guerrero, he is going to try to see if he can set his first flying lap around the circuit as he comes out of turn 4 across the start finish line, and he will set a 31.968, good enough for P1 at this time. A couple of other times are now going up onto the clock right now, as we just now have Trent Dingle go to the top of the leaderboard. As there you see Richard Reagan in his number 56 machine. He is now going to try to set a fast time around the circuit, as Chris Hudson, Byron Johnson go up to the 2nd and 3rd position. Watching Richard Reagan, your points leader here in Season 4 in the Neonism machine. He's going to see if he can guarantee his spot in the Final 4 next week at Chicagoland. Out of turn number 4, he gets a good run, looking to be tracking in the right direction. As he comes across the line, he will go up to P9 for his first lap, as Chris Hudson, Skip Gandy just ran their laps here, as Trent Dingle will currently hold on to the pole position with a 31.202. A couple of other cars coming around the track. That's the 7 machine of Clayton Ham coming across the line. He will now move up to P10. As 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying here. Dingle, Hudson, as James O'Brien moves up to P2. Reagan, good enough for P6, just about a 10th off the pace of your pole sitter Trent Dingle. Ooh, trouble right there for Clayton Ham in qualifying, as he will work his way through. And unfortunately, that time will not count for him, so that 31.547 will be the best that he can do, as we watch the 62 of Mark Galen come around the circuit to set his first flying lap. As we watch Mark Galen see what he can do on his first flying lap, he will come out of here. As they come across the line and working across the start-finish line, he will get a 31.48, good enough for P16. As we are ready to go, we will welcome our lead announcer here for the PRL Cup Series, as well as most of the PRL Series here. Joey Tebben joins us. Joey, qualifying underway, and we're seeing some great drivers setting the field, but everyone's going to be looking at those final 2 spots in the Championship 4.
Yeah, I missed the first 4 minutes of qualifying, but somehow it looks very, very familiar to me. Trent Dingle on pole, Josh Daniels in 2nd, Abner Acosta in 3rd. So really, have I really missed much with the internet troubles I've had tonight? I don't think so. Let's see what Eric Hogg can do here on his 2nd lap. First lap puts him down in P20, but that is not the typical pace we see from Eric Hogg as he rounds turn 4, almost gets into the wall. Gonna bring it to the line, try and improve on a 31.5. He definitely does, but it is only a 31.37. That's gonna put him in just 15th ahead of Joao Guerra. Or is it? That lap didn't count. I think he got an incident point for hitting the wall. Looks like that's going to be just about everybody, Taylor. And as I said, you know, Trent Dinkel, Josh Daniels, Abner Acosta. It's no surprise to see them up front. You go to any type of track, you go to a short track, you go to an intermediate, heck, you even go to a road course, and it's often at least 2 out of 3 of those guys.
It really is, and we're going to see that here tonight. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more on the line for drivers such as Daniels, as well as also Richard Reagan Jr., and continuing on with this couple of other drivers who are in the mix, Chris Hudson as well. I mean, those 3 drivers battling for 2 spots is going to be exciting to see how this will play out.
We are ready to go gridding. Trent Dinkel, no surprise, will start us from pole once more. I will have to check that exact number for you, but he's had quite a few poles this season, and he starts alongside Josh Daniels, only 8 thousandths off the pole. Abner Acosta starts 3rd, and James O'Brien starts alongside him. Chris Hudson starts in 5th, and Skip Gandy needs a very good finish tonight. He will start 6th. Joe Hoggard and Brandon Walter are alongside each other. Richard Regan Jr. down in 9th place alongside Lou Christian, and then Byron Johnson and Eric Papineau make up row number 6. Steve Loving, unlucky 13th alongside Bentley Glazer. Joao Guerra, a solid qualifying in 15th alongside Josh Conker. Mark Kalin's back after serving a 1-week ban. He's in 17th, and Mike Witt starts alongside him. P19 went to Clayton Ham. Eric Hogg would have been a little bit further up the order, but his second lap appeared to have been disallowed. Byron Johnson, Tom Amasi, and Jeff Hollingsworth rounded out the last couple of drivers to actually set a qualifying lap time. Looks like Pat Harvey will start from the back of the grid, as will Waldo Walden, Adam Zemke, Paul Crumry, Robert Bisaw Jr., and Jose the Funky Cold Medina. A lot of those drivers did get penalties in qualifying. They were not allowed to qualify due to bringing out the caution last week at Phoenix, but still quite a big grid of cars here, Taylor. 29 drivers, 86 degrees Fahrenheit here down in Kansas. It's an intermediate track, but Kansas is always a track that tends to put on pretty good racing in these next-gen cars.
It really does, and in fact, seeing these situations where the outside lane is going to be one of the big factors here tonight with these next-gen car, it's going to be exciting to see them run right up against that outside wall. Some of them may try to stick to the bottom of the racetrack, some may try to stick to that middle groove, but these next-gen cars will put on one fabulous show around the circuit.
145 laps on the books here, but there is a 90-minute time limit, so if cautions do come into consideration, they haven't often this season. There's been a few times where we've ended up going to time, like at Martinsville, but I have to imagine we'll be able to get in all 145 laps in the books tonight. We've got about 1.5 miles here, so I'm going to load up the old stats sheet so I can give you the exact number of poles that Trent Dinkel has had so far this season, because it has been quite a few, and I want to make sure I get his exact number correct. Let's see here. Yeah, before tonight, Trent Dinkel had started on pole 5 times, so this is his 6th pole of the season in 9 races. That is 2/3 of the races this season that Trent Dinkel has started on pole. Taylor, you were his teammate for a season, I believe, and I can only imagine you saw all that qualifying pace firsthand, but Trent Dinkel is ready to get started here at Kansas from the pole position alongside Josh Daniels, who could really use a win here to make it into the round of 4. We are ready to go racing in Kansas. The bright blue private label team hype entry of Trent Dinkel, the bright red entry of Josh Daniels. They're ready to go here at Kansas Speedway for 145 laps. It's time for Sunday night PRL Cup racing once more. Oh, huge trouble on the back straight. Mike Witt, Joao Guerra, and Mark Kalin involved as well. Halfway through the lap, we've wiped out 3 drivers, and Joao Guerra around to the back of the field. Looked like Pat Harvey couldn't get in gear coming off the start, but I don't know if that's what triggered that incident, Taylor.
No, we're going to have to take a look at that here when we get a look at the replay, but drivers, really surprising to see that this early on in the race. Kansas is known for some issues when you come off corner exit, but not for what we just saw. I mean, that was just very surprising as we see the field now catch up to Benny the pace car driver, as we'll hopefully get a look at the replay here, as we'll see Joao Guerrero go up the racetrack. Oh. And just makes contact with the 26 of Witt, and unfortunately Kalen, the innocent bystander.
It looked like Mike Witt got in the wall. That was bizarre. He didn't even fade up into the wall. That just looked like a little bit of a lazy fade up into the wall, and he bounced off. Joao Guerrero had nowhere to go, and of course, who else would have nowhere to go in an incident like that but Mark Kalen? There's been some flashes over the past couple weeks from Mark Kalen. There's been signs of the Mark Kalen season finally turning around, but the day he comes back to the PRL Cup Series, he gets collected in somebody else's business on lap 1. Sometimes those seasons just have to go that way.
Unfortunate, as we see Eric Papineau coming down pit road as well to see if servicing some of his damage possibly in that number 37. We'll keep track of him as he comes down pit road.
Yeah, a few drivers electing to come down under caution here. It looks like Tamamasi has elected to come down as well, as have Adam Zemke and Waldo Walden, who started at the back of the grid. I will just update you because I did not have this up during the grid. Adam Zemke, Waldo Walden, and Jose Medina were all the drivers who had penalties from last week for bringing out caution. So they were disallowed from qualifying this week. Matthew Long, who's not here tonight, is also disallowed from qualifying whenever he decides to show up again. And Pat Harvey still had 2 penalties from Martinsville, so that's why he was not allowed to qualify tonight as well. So we are under caution here on lap number 3. Not a very long stint to kick off this race, but in that about half a lap we went green. Abner Acosta did find a way to get by Josh Daniels, so once this restart comes around in about a lap, 2 laps time, it's going to be even more familiar up front. Trent Dingle and Abner Acosta, as usual, they found themselves up front in a race at an intermediate.
Yeah, it's no surprise there when that action comes to play here for these two drivers between Dingle and Acosta. It's usually a two-horse race unless they find their way to get together during one point or another during the racing action, so we'll see how that plays out. But also, Richard Reagan was able to pick up a couple of runs here, as he is now going to be picking up 1 spot in the 7th position, possibly make it 8th position. So we'll see what he can do in this run as well as we get ready to double him up and go back racing.
Richard Regan Jr. could be in danger here. If the playoff standings that I'm looking at are correct, he is potentially in danger of missing the round of 4. He's right on the cut line. He's 4 points above Chris Hudson. Abner Acosta, has he clinched his way? Yes, because he won round 7. Abner Acosta has clinched his way into the round of 4, I believe, as has Trent Dingle won at Martinsville. It's crazy stuff here. I'll make sure I get all those stats correct here, but either way, all these drivers are probably just as confused as we are, and they're probably all thinking exactly the same thing. You know what's the easiest thing to do? Let's just win at Kansas, and that's how I'll make it into the round of 4. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to worry about points. If I win, I'm there guaranteed. Trent Dingle, of course, did that at Martinsville, so he's safe, but everybody else in playoff contention very much wants to win tonight. But the iRacing Sedan pace car is ready to pull off once more. Hopefully we can go a little bit further than half a lap this time, and Trent Dingle and Abner Acosta, 9 and 5, take control of the field once more. We're green again at Kansas.
Big good jump right there for Trent Dingle as he will pull away from Joshua Daniels, who will now get to the inside and pull up side by side as they go 2 by 2, heading off into turns 1 and 2. You see the battle for the 4th position as Chris Hudson, who's also one of those championship drivers, on the cusp of moving into the Final 4. He's right there in the mix, battling with James O'Brien for that 4th spot.
An interesting dynamic here as we end lap number 1 of this restart. At least we kick off lap number 6 of the race. There's a very big difference in the lines people want to run. You can see James O'Brien up top, Josh Daniels, they really want to run that high line early. But Trent Dingle, Abner Acosta, quite a few others, they're content to just stick down to the bottom. They're not interested in making the top work right now. They're not ripping the top, but Josh Daniels, he is ripping the top, and that move is going to work for him. He's going to be clear of Trent Dingle. He might be using up his tires earlier, using that higher line and keeping that momentum up for longer, but Josh Daniels is your leader.
He certainly is, as he will lead here on lap number 6, coming to lap 7 here, and stretches that lead out to about a 1/10 of a second over Trent Dinko. James O'Brien, though, he's on a bit of a charge as he works to the bottom of the racetrack through turns 1 and 2. Acosta behind him with Chris Hudson rounding out your top 5, as those are the drivers to keep an eye on as they make the way down the back straightaway. You see the side-by-side battle between the 64 of Hogard trying to get a good run on the top side of the racetrack, along with Reagan Jr., as those two will stay to the top side.
Joe Hoggard, always a driver we look for in these early stages of the race. That's not to say he uses up his stuff early. He's usually pretty decent at saving his stuff for later on in the race, but he is absolutely flinging it up on the high line. Richard Regan Jr. is following him forward as well. Dinkel's going to move up top to block off the run by Hoggard. Let's see if he moves back down to the bottom. He does. Dinkel stays down low. Hoggard tries to go to the middle, almost clips himself on James O'Brien's nose, and Richard Regan Jr. is going to make it 3 wide on the top.
Very aggressive here in the early stages, as he will complete the pass as Richard Reagan Jr. moves up to P3 ahead of O'Brien and Hoggard as they make their way through. Now Hoggard tries to make that outside lane work. Daniels also still utilizing an outside lane, but he's got to be careful not to use up those tires this early on in the race. As we see them work down the back straightaway, here comes a big run for the 33 of James O'Brien to the inside of Hoggard.
Hoggard's still trying to hold him down a little bit, doing a little bit of a pinch. Nothing that is going to work for him just yet. And Trent Dinkel's fighting back on the bottom. Josh Daniels was able to take the lead about 2 laps ago. Got completely clear of Trent Dinkel. But it's entirely possible that, has he already used his stuff up already? Is Trent Dinkel in the bottom already working out better than Josh Daniels? Has he already scrubbed his tires from running the high line?
I don't know about that, but how about Richard Reagan Jr. splitting the middle and taking the race lead as they enter into turn 3 and 4. New race leader, can he clear Joshua Daniels off turn 4? The answer is going to be yes. A beautiful pass, an aggressive move to make his way up.
Oh, trouble in the background. I think that's Bentley Glazer. It's not Bentley Glazer, it's Eric Hogg, and Pat Harvey gets involved as well. You can see Eric Hogg in the distance. He got loose off of turn 4, overcorrected, flung it back on the track, and Pat Harvey had nowhere to go there. Let's see what happened to Eric Hogg, but caution is back out here again on lap number 11 at Kansas. Pat Harvey was a driver who needed to win tonight to make the round of 4. He could not do it on points, and suddenly that just got almost impossibly difficult, if not completely impossible.
Look here, and Pat Harvey in the mix here as they make their way through. Ooh, there's the contact between Hogg and Ham. And Harvey just could not get out of the way quick enough, and unfortunately, the 89 decided to come back up onto the racetrack.
Do you think Eric Hogg was holding the brakes all the way there? Because I know these, when you hold the brakes in these cars, they still find a way to roll. But that seemed like an awful lot of rolling.
That was a little bit too much rolling, I had to say. I think he could have easily just took it through the grass and possibly just took in the penalty if need be regarding the situation. So race officials, I had to say, will look at that situation.
But somehow Richard Regan Jr. is leading this race on lap number 12. He started way deeper in the field, and he was very, very quick on that restart. He only took about 7 laps to drive his way up to the lead. But let's ride on board with Waldo Walden here, who had a very, very lucky escape. Ooh, couldn't get any closer if he tried.
It's a hold your breath kind of moment, I had to say right there.
I can give a shout out as well to Steve Loving and Byron Johnson. I was shouting out Daniels and Hoggard for ripping the high line, for making that work, but Steve Loving and Byron Johnson, another pair of drivers who started deeper in the field. Loving was 13th, he's up to 6th. Byron Johnson up to 7th. Here's a few drivers from the back of the field electing to bring it down pit road again. Just get a little bit of extra fuel in the car, you might as well, can't hurt. So Robert Besaw Jr.'s done so. Paul Crumry's done so. Looks like Eric Papineau came down again. Waldo Walden, of course, maybe for a change of underwear as well. And Tom Amasi has also done so, and Jeff Hollingsworth has as well. Jeff was already at the back of the field. He's been having some connection issues, apparently, so I think he was just riding in that first stint. But if you're just riding around to the back, you can't lose anything by coming down pit road under caution.
No, you really can here, so you got to be so careful with that riding around the back, because it's very easy to go a lap down around this circuit. You have to be so careful, plan it out right. So we'll see how that works out for him as we progress through this race tonight.
So Pat Harvey's the first playoff contending driver to really completely fall here. He's not out of the race. He's still on pit road, but I believe he's going to go probably 1 or 2 laps down because that was a heavy hit to the back of Eric Hogg, and he is still on pit road as the pace car goes by. So bad luck for Pat Harvey. He's in a little bit of trouble. Looks like Paul Crumry and Jeff Hollingsworth are going to come down pit road again on this lap. So they're just filling those things up every chance they can. They want those tanks as full as possible. It's still very early days in this race, but they're definitely still thinking fuel strategy. At this point, Taylor, if we went green the whole way, I'm trying to do the math myself. It's got to be a 2-stop now, right?
At the very least, of course, we were told before the start of the race it's going to be about a 60-lap run. So, yeah, you would have to probably make a 2-stop run in order to make it to the end. Maybe even possibly a splash and dash to the end, depending on the situation with how the cautions fall tonight.
So if we do go green all the way, you know, that's entirely possible. The likes of Zemke and Besaw and Papineau and even Jose the Funky Cold Medina, who's got a little bit of... no, he doesn't have any damage from lap 1. He was just in the back of the field, so he's fine. All those drivers who have gone for this alternate strategy, it very well could work out for him in 131 laps time, and they're certainly hoping it does. But we are ready to rack everything back up here as we cross the line. It should be 1 lap until green once more. And it's not Trent Dinkel who's going to restart on pole. It's going to be Richard Regan Jr. who will take control of the field. And, of course, that new paint scheme for tonight. No more neon yellow. Now it's neonism. I haven't seen. Is Liquimali still on there? I'm not sure. But neonism and that bright iridescent paint scheme, they're going to take control of our eyes, and he's going to take control of the field. But I'm more concerned about how I'm going to be hypnotized by that paint scheme.
Don't stare at it too long. It'll hurt your eyes. But, of course, it's a beautiful paint scheme that the company Neonism has done for Richard Regan Jr. I've actually had a couple of cars painted myself from that company, so they do some great work.
You can see Richard Regan Motorsports on the back. A little bit of self-promo. Never hurts. He'll take control of the field here. It's going to be an interesting restart because Trent Dinkel, we've seen him restart on pole or from the lead so many times this season. It's honestly kind of rare that you see him on a restart on the outside. He's either leading or he's deeper in the field because there's been some kind of strategy shenanigans. But he'll restart from the outside here. Richard Regan Jr. will take control of the field. Josh Daniels is still in 3rd. James O'Brien still having a great run in 4th as well. The iRacing sedan pace car is ready to pull off once more. Haven't been able to put together a very long run before, but we are ready to go racing at Kansas once more. The iRacing sedan pace car pulls off. Richard Regan Jr. in his new Neonism colors takes control of the field, and we're going green at Kansas once again.
Great restart right there as he picks up about 0.2 of a second over Joshua Daniels and Trent Dinkel. They'll go side by side through the middle of turn 1 and 2. Good run off the back straightaway, though, on the top side for both private label drivers of Dinkel and James O'Brien as they make the run down the back straightaway. We're going to give a little bit of a push right there, but Daniels will now stick to the bottom of the racetrack, while the 2 private label drivers who were on the bottom last restart are now sticking to the top side and trying to pressure your race leader, Richard Regan Jr.
Top 3 in the point standings, top 3 in the race right now. Richard Regan Jr., 15 points ahead of Dinkel in the championship. Josh Daniels, 27 points behind Richard Regan Jr. He definitely needs his 2 rivals to get into some sort of calamity tonight, and they might just do that. Trent Dinkel and Richard Regan Jr. side by side down the back straight. Dinkel's trying to keep the momentum so he can still be side by side into turn 3, and he is. Daniels is running with Regan on the top, but Dinkel, he loves that bottom, and he's not giving it up.
He certainly is not going to give it up here as they make the run across the start-finish line. Dinkel will not beat Regan to the line as he will still maintain the race lead heading off into turn 1. You ride on board with the 77 Lover racing machine of Joshua Daniels, who will also stick to the top side of the racetrack as they come off turn 2. Trent Dinkel shuts the door. Can't quite close them yet, though, as here comes Daniel with a head of steam.
Whoa, James O'Brien was not clear of Steve Loving there. He was not clear of Steve Loving. That was an excellent save. But James O'Brien almost just got himself turned in front of the field. That was a very scary moment. Steve Loving is up into P4, and now Trent Dinkel and Josh Daniels are still side by side. This is some insane racing for the next-gen car at intermediates. It's always put on very, very good racing, but Kansas is a whole nother level of crazy. It's not quite pack racing, but it is crazy stuff on these restarts.
It really is, but it provides some great racing action as here comes the 27 of Steve Lovings with a head of steam. He wants to get in this mix for the battle for P2 as they come rocketing off of turn 3 and 4.
Byron Johnson lurking in P5 as well. A lot of drivers here in these early stages of this stint using that high line to their advantage and moving their way forward, getting themselves some good TV time. Josh Daniels now back up to the top. Dinkel still using the bottom. Regan has moved down to the bottom as well now that he's taken the lead of this race. Daniels is going to get a little bit of a run down the back straight. That's going to protect him from Dinkel using a little bit of the draft from Regan. Regan goes back up to the top now. I think that's got to be pretty scary for the rest of the field because Richard Regan Jr. can lead this race in the top. He can lead this race on the bottom. How the heck do you beat a guy who can run both lines?
It's very difficult too. You're going to have to pull off some different strategy plays in order to try to beat him at his own game. But we've seen how strategic Richard Regan Jr. can be racing here tonight and throughout the entire season. It's why he's the points leader for season 4 and why he's looking to try and clinch a championship for the PRL Cup Series.
Byron Johnson to the inside of Steve Loving in one of those new YS Motorsports paint schemes. Definitely standing out now. Byron Johnson, of course, we saw him. We saw Joe Hoggard. We saw Clayton Ham. Very pretty new paint schemes. Fresh for tonight. Glad to always see a lot of new paint schemes on the grid. You saw Steve Loving change into that Dude Perfect one a couple of weeks ago. Of course, Richard Regan Jr. at the head of the field with his new sponsor. Lots of action here at the PRL, and it's only going to get better next season, which is only coming in... well, it's not coming in 2 weeks. There will be a mid-season break, but it will be coming very, very soon. Byron Johnson and Steve Loving not giving each other very much room there. I think I also almost saw Jeff Hollingsworth get into the wall in the background. But it almost looks like a pace lap right now, Taylor. They're still just glued side by side almost all the way down the field.
It is making Kansas so unique because you get those two different lanes, the outside lane and that bottom line of the racetrack here, where it keeps them 2x2 for quite some time. They can probably stay 2x2 for at least over a dozen laps if need be, and it just provides some great racing action as we ride on board with Joe Hoggard, who is having a good run in his yellow stripe machine, getting a good run down the front straightaway with a bit of the tow from James O'Brien as he tries to hunt his way into the top 5.
Powered by RPM transmissions, of course, and we'll see if he's got a few extra RPM here up on the high line. He's closing to the back of James O'Brien, but not quite enough. And Byron Johnson and Steve Loving, they refuse to leave each other's side. They are still glued together. Trent Dinkel looks like he's cleared Josh Daniels. He's going to try and challenge Richard Regan Jr. next. But every single lap, something works out differently for these two. Steve Loving gets a run on the top, Johnson gets a run on the bottom, and they continue just dead even with each other. And that's got to be eternally frustrating for James O'Brien behind because the entire track is basically blocked in front of him. He can't go high, he can't go low. And up front, Trent Dinkel's gone low, and he's trying to take the lead from Richard Regan Jr. There's no shortage of action on the track right now.
There is really no shortage whatsoever after this great little bit of a run we have right now as Trent Dinkel, who's running a little bit faster than your race leader of Regan Jr. by about 0.2 of a second. So this is going to be interesting where this will play out for your race leader as this run progresses.
Whoa, very, very close quarters between Dinkel and Regan there through the tri-oval, or through the D-shaped oval, I guess if I'm being specific, but Dinkel peeks to the inside once more of Regan. Regan's got to shift up to the top now. Daniel's still running the top. Byron Johnson's still running the top. Dinkel finds the door open on the top, goes up there, and then he's got to fade back down because Byron Johnson peeks to the inside of Josh Daniels now, and now the top fades back in for Daniels to work out here. It is unpredictability at its very best. We went to iRacing Super Speedway in the PRL Truck Series on Wednesday. That's a track famous for a lot of unpredictability, but frankly, iRacing Super Speedway races are kind of predictable because everybody's just waiting for the last possible lap to make their move. But at Kansas, you're all stuck together the whole time, and you can't wait to make any moves. You've got to make them when the runs come.
You certainly have to indeed, and we're going to see that continuously changing in and amongst your drivers inside the top 10 as they try to sort their way out through a little bit of a run as they are approaching the halfway point of this fuel run for your race leaders. So we'll see some adjustments coming into play, and with how these cars are going to be handling, they're now starting to drive a little bit like that egg is underneath the throttle. You got to be so careful, otherwise you'll end up like we saw from Joao Guerrero and Mike Witt in the opening lap.
I kind of want somebody to actually put an egg under the throttle because I feel like maybe at the end of a long run you might have a nice soft boil on that thing.
Probably will indeed. I have to agree with you on that, Joey.
any NASCAR teams watching, any crew members, put an egg in the cockpit next time. I hope you don't fail tech for that, but that'll be a good old science experiment. Looks like they've tried to single file out, at least for a moment. They've tried to calm down a little bit and give Taylor and I a chance to catch our breath. But of course, that can't last for too long, because Richard Regan Jr. and Trent Dinkle are side by side once more for the lead. Dinkle's gonna hang on again. The bottom just doesn't seem to be working for Dinkle just enough. He's able to pull alongside, but the momentum is still up there on the top.
It really is. So you got to be careful to where your car is and how your tires are reacting throughout this stage of the run. You don't want to use up too much of it, because now with you at the halfway point of this run, those tires are going to be a little bit different. You got to take care of those tires. You got to be careful of your throttle input, especially when coming into corner entry. Maybe even starting to back your corners up just a tick in order to get that run you need off turn 2.
That was incredible from Eric Papineau there, just barely fitting in the hole between Ham and Hoggard. And remember, Eric Papineau is on fresher tires than anybody else. It's not the biggest advantage in the world, because we haven't actually run that many laps, but he is on 12-lap fresher tires. A lot of those are caution laps, but still, you get the idea. He is on fresher tires than everybody else ahead of him right now, and he's making them work. Papineau in the 37 peaks to the outside of Abner Acosta. While Clayton Ham struggles and falls back, Eric Papineau is charging forward.
He is making a charge up to the front of the field as they will continue on. They're battling up through the field, and we watch on. Here comes Acosta to the inside, and now Clayton Ham also trying to get into the mix as we see Josh Cocker, who should be getting ready to head out to Vegas along with me this coming week.
The old SCUSA Supernats. So, what better doubleheader to do than get a PRL win on Sunday, get a SCUSA Supernats win next week? We mentioned that earlier this season. There's probably no other driver who's done that before, so Josh Conker could make a little bit of history there.
We're joining NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Vicente Salas in the same category this coming week as well, so that'll be a fun little battle to see two up-and-coming stars in the world of iRacing go head-to-head.
We'll prove that the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is better than the Coke Series. That's what we'll prove if Josh Conker wins.
That is indeed. He's already picked up one championship this year. He's looking for another.
Eric Papineau trying to be better than Steve Loving on the high line. That's a pretty straightforward move. He's clear of Loving. He's up into P5. And Papineau's charge, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. He's still on fresher rubber than anybody else. He's running faster lap times than the leader. Eric Papineau is the fastest driver on track right now by about 0.3, and he's showing no signs of stopping. James O'Brien almost just stopped himself by getting in the wall. He's still going to be clear of Steve Loving coming into turn 1, and here comes Josh Conker around the outside of Loving.
Great run right here as Conker will now try to get around his teammate of James O'Brien. Loving right there in the mix as they come off turn 2 down the back straightaway. He'll stay tucked up behind as Acosta will now cross him over and go to the inside.
There's just so much action going on right now. Papineau dives to the inside of Josh Daniels. Trent Dinkle again trying to steal the lead from Richard Regan Jr. And even as these two have been running side by side this whole time, they've been battling tooth and nail for the lead. Look at the gap they've pulled back to Byron Johnson in third.
They certainly have, and it's about over a second between your top two over the rest of the field right now, and this is going to be critical to see how they play out and how they try to work together, as well as also how they try to race against each other, because if they keep racing very hard, those tires are going to give way and the rest of the pack is going to come closing in very quickly.
I feel like Trent Dinkle's room looks blanker than it did before. I feel like there used to be something back there, and now it's just a blank wall. Blank wall of air in front of him as well behind Richard Regan Jr. because Regan has managed to clear him again. Papineau in the background has managed to clear Byron Johnson, so all you ticker watchers, you can see what's going on. Only 0.9 of a second between Papineau and Dinkle. Papineau's been faster than both Dinkle and Regan over the past couple of laps. That gap will come down. We will have a fight for the lead between those three drivers. James O'Brien has now cleared Josh Daniels. I think he definitely has scrubbed those tires quite a bit, running the high line early. I think he is falling back a little bit. Acosta's going to get by him as well.
Acosta is going to try to get a good run to the inside of Joshua Daniels here. One of your Final Four championship competitors is going to try to see what he can do to see who is going to join him in this championship fight at Chicagoland. A little bit of close contact right there between him and Daniels as they almost do, coming down the back straightaway.
Right now, Daniels is in a good position to make the round of 4. Richard Regan Jr., of course, being the leader, is in a good position to make that round of 4, so it should be Dinkle, Acosta, Regan, and Daniels as your championship 4 as things stand. But Chris Hudson is only 4 points below the cut line. He could certainly move his way forward. And Brandon Walter and Skip Gandy running a little bit deeper in the field, but it's Kansas. Things can go crazy. You can never count them out until lap number 145 is over here. And speak of the devil, Brandon Walter is racing with Clayton Ham. He's clear of Clayton Ham. He's clear of Joe Hoggard. And he is going to continue his charge forward in P13.
Certainly is, as he makes the run through. Joe Hoggard is having a great run after recovering through, and he will try to get in front of that number 7 of Clayton Ham. Not going to work this time, as they will drag race across the start-finish line.
Hoggard was another one of those drivers who was using that high line very, very early. Charged forward from a low qualifying spot up into the top 5. It worked for him in the short term, but it looks like he is suffering the effects of that in the long term. Here comes Byron McDonald in the number 8 car. I'm not entirely sure why it's the number L car, but Byron McDonald will try and take the inside of Joe Hoggard, but he's not going to be able to. He's blocked off there. He has to take an L because the two YS Motorsports drivers are too busy battling with each other in front.
It's I suppose before I had a comment here, we have trouble for
and the caution's
Crumry.
out. Right as Taylor was about to speak, the caution is out in the background, and it is Paul Crumry in the middle of the quad oval. He got very, very far off the track there. He's trying to... I think he might be lost. Is he on the road course? No, he's just in the quad oval. He has found pit lane, but Paul Crumry is destroyed.
Severe damage to that number 15. We'll take a look at the replay to see what happened to him. And did he just lose it off turn number 4? And it looks like he did. He got a little too tight. We'll try to save it, overcorrected, and hard contact to the outside wall.
And eventually he did get his bearings and find where he was, but Paul Crumry already at the back of the field, and he's got some heavy damage on that car. He'll be in the pits for quite a while. We are into caution now on lap number 41. About 100 laps to go. Taylor was saying that it's probably going to be around 60 laps on a fuel tank, so it is very easily a one stop from here for everybody in the field. I can't imagine that strategy is going to change for anybody. We should see everybody come down pit road this time. But what I can say, the strategy from the previous caution, who's it worked out the best for? It's worked out the best for Eric Papineau, because he is going to be on the same strategy as everybody else now, and he's driven his way up to 3rd.
He certainly has. This is going to get exciting to watch to see how this will play out for your race leader as everybody comes down pit road.
Dinkle was struggling to make the pass on track. Let's see if he can make the pass on pit lane. Let's see what the private label Team Hype pit crew can do compared to the Phase 2 Chassis Works pit crew. I did just notice, by the way, that Richard Regan Jr. is all alone tonight for Phase 2 Chassis Works. No Sean Powell and no Tyler Justice, last week's winner, so he's got no teammates to help him tonight. Let's see how that pays off for him. But everybody's going to put 4 tires on. No surprises at the back of the field. Richard Regan Jr. is going to win the race off pit road, just barely. And Eric Papineau is going to stay 3rd. James O'Brien's going to get 3rd. Josh Conker's got to be careful back there. There's a little bit of shenanigans. Hopefully he didn't get an unsafe pit exit for that, but other than a little bit of drama in 4th and 5th, or in 6th and 7th rather, good stuff on pit lane. Richard Regan Jr. retakes control of the race.
Great drive for his pit crew as they will now get themselves sorted out for another run here, as we will see them possibly try to stretch it out a little bit further. So the next time they would have to pit is around lap 100 to make it to the end, by the looks of things.
See if we can make it a full fuel stint here, because green flag pit stops, they always make things interesting. I always hope we can get them. Sometimes the cautions just come out at times where you don't need to do any green flag pit stops. Oops, forgive me. Brandon Walter just killed the cone there. So I don't know if that'll be an unsafe pit exit penalty for him. I think he'll be okay, but the cone's definitely not going to be okay. Brandon hurt its feelings.
One call the medevac team to go check on that cone. Gonna need a resuscitation, possibly.
I just hope we hear that the cone has been checked and released from the medical center. Richard Regan Jr. is running the apron in 1 and 2, I guess to save a couple milliliters of fuel or something. I don't know how much that's going to help him, but I guess he's just thinking, you know, every little bit matters. It's probably not going to be a fuel mileage race to the end. You probably should be pretty safe to do a steady one stop, but he's trying to take every advantage he can get down there. And Eric Papineau might follow him. He goes back up.
Well, you know, even with that, even though, yes, there is only one stop, it also depends on how much fuel maybe you have to put in. Instead of maybe putting in a full tank of fuel, maybe you can save a couple of tenths of fuel added on there, which will save a couple of few tenths on the pit stop here. So it's going to be interesting, and there's so many ways you can do that. Of course, the one big way, of course, is to drop it into the lowest gear, coast around the circuit at speeds, or drop it in neutral, cut off the engine a little bit, then get back onto the throttle by restarting the engine for those who are... We see similar happening in the world of NASCAR.
Time to pack them back up here. We are ready to go racing once more. I was trying to think of that as a Kansas reference, but I don't... There's not much you can reference in Kansas. It's all Kansas City stuff, but the problem with doing your Kansas City barbecue jokes and all that is that's Kansas City, Missouri. That's not Kansas, Kansas.
You were trying to... Well, I never mind, actually. We'll just figure something out here. Of course, there's other different references you can probably think of, but we're going to need a little furry friend to probably help us out with that one.
I mean, after the last week, I'm just thinking, like, Laura Kelly, Jerry Moran, but who wants to hear Kansas political references? That's all I know about Kansas. That's all that's been going on there in the last week. But we are ready to go green once more. Richard Regan Jr. controls the field over Trent Dinkle. Eric Papineau has pulled a strategy to perfection here, at least in this early stage of the race. He's in P3. Then O'Brien, Johnson, Conqueror, Daniels, Acosta, Loving, and Gandy form the top 10 here. We got about 100 laps to go. One stop predicted, but we're ready to go green once more at Kansas. Dinkle's immediately going to get down to the bottom, and Richard Regan Jr. leads everybody into turn one.
Great run here as he will pull off to the race lead. How about Eric Papineau staying inside the top 5 right now as he's looking to get a good top 5 finish here tonight as they will go side by side with 2 of the private label drivers of Daniels and Conquer as they work their way down the backstretch.
Abner Acosta to the inside, down to the bottom. Trent Dinkle, his teammate, in a position up front, dives to the bottom as well. Momentum's still not there, especially in this early stage of the run. The momentum does not appear to actually be there in the bottom. Acosta's trying to get to the inside of Papineau. That's going to get blocked off there, down on the apron. A lot of drivers favoring the bottom right now, but look at Byron Johnson on the top.
Byron Johnson going to be one of the first few drivers to go run the top side, along with the driver of Joshua Daniels down the back straightaway. There you see the Yellow Stripe Motorsports machine just trying to hold on to that top line, try to almost touch the wall, give it maybe a little bit of a kiss, but still keeps on running here, the best line around the circuit.
Chris Hudson got very, very close to the wall in the exit of 4. I don't think he hit it. I don't see any immediate damage to the side of that car, but he got very, very close. And he's certainly pushing in that Krispy Kreme entry. The top it's not really working that well for Byron Johnson. He's definitely got the momentum advantage there. He's definitely getting runs, but it doesn't look like it's as good as it was before. Because when Josh Daniels was running that in the initial stage of the race, he was just flying forward. And Byron Johnson's kind of stagnating with these 2 private label team hype drivers.
Certainly is, so he's got to try to find a way to keep up the pace here as we see Conquer thinking about taking it 3 wide as they head off into 1, thinks better of it, keeps on running his line here as he watches and waits for an opportunity to strike.
There he goes. He is finally clear of James O'Brien into 3rd. Next up on his list is Trent Dinkle and Richard Regan Jr. Could Byron Johnson take the lead of the race? I don't know if he's led any laps this season. He may have under a caution cycle or something. It's entirely possible. But Byron Johnson wants to lead some laps early. You can also see Josh Daniels in the background. Probably used up his stuff a little bit too early on the previous stint of this race. But he is ripping the top once more. He's going to follow Josh Conquer up there, and he's going to try and charge his way forward as well.
He will try to charge his way forward indeed with a big run as they work their way down the back straightaway here. Here comes the run for Papineau to get around the driver of Chris Hudson. Brandon Walters getting into the mix in the top 10.
Brandon Walter just inching his way forward. That's all he can do. And in the background, that's Joe Hoggard in the wall. The caution's out. Not entirely sure why, because it looked like Joe Hoggard was fine. He was still rolling. But I think somebody else must have gotten involved there because the caution's back out. Trying to look at the back of the field. Who else was involved? Maybe Skip Gandy? potentially. That'd be terrible if the playoff driver was involved, and considering he's towed it down to pit road, I have to imagine that, yep, here it goes. Skip Gandy in the 20, Steve Loving behind. Loving had nothing to do with that, though. Skip Gandy clipped the apron.
It was the apron strikes again for the number 20 of Skip Gandy here, and that's a tough break for him, who was trying to find his way into that Final Four championship. A little bit of a long shot, given the fact that drivers such as Daniel and Reagan are inside the top 5, but he still could have made his way through and tried a challenge for the race lead.
Skip Gandy was one of those drivers who needed to win tonight, as was Pat Harvey. That's going to be 2 drivers completely eliminated from playoff contention now. They can still run out on track. They can still pick up some points after they get their damage repaired, I'm sure. But Pat Harvey, the Wonder Hamster, Skip Gandy, they're going to be multiple laps down. They're just going to be bringing it to the finish here. And that just leaves 6 drivers. That leaves Dinkel and Acosta. They're already in the round of 4, as you saw in the pre-race. Regan, your leader, should clinch his way in. It's basically between Daniels, Hudson, and a shock from Brandon Walter to make the round of 4 now.
It certainly is going to be a very close fight for the championship here. We'll find out here as they make their way through. Still quite a bit of racing left to go in tonight's action. And now the question is going to be, is it going to be on laps or time? Because 51 laps in the book. We're not even at the halfway point, and there's already just about 50 minutes left to go in this race.
And I also don't want to count out the fact that Richard Regan Jr. is definitely not clinched into the round of 4. I kind of wrote him off there. I said, he's in the lead of the race. He's probably got a pretty good chance of winning this race, but he is 0 points above the cut line. Crazy things can happen. Crazier things have happened. This is not a guaranteed win for Richard Regan Jr. whatsoever. And he only needs to fall 4 or 5 or 6 spots, depending on the bonus points, behind Chris Hudson to miss the round of 4. He's got to be completely on it here for the rest of the night, and I can guarantee he probably will, but we've seen the fortunes of the race leaders this season have not been especially good. Abner Acosta's been taken out from the lead twice. A few other drivers have had some troubles in the lead. Richard Regan Jr. might be sweating a little bit right now, but he's probably sweating a little bit less than the likes of Brandon Walter, who are a little bit further back.
Well, as the old adage goes, win and you're in, and that's currently the track going in the right track for Richard Regan as he continues to hold on to the race lead here, as he will see if he can maintain it, though, in these rest of the race.
It's weird that Abner Acosta hasn't really been in contention so far tonight. It's still early days in the race. Abner tends to be at his best on long runs when he can really save the tires. But he's last of the private label team hype drivers right now. Every single one of his teammates is ahead of him on track. It's been a hellish season for Abner Acosta. Like I said, he's lost a lot of points from being taken out from the lead of the race by lapped cars. But he's not quite had the pace tonight, and this is his first season in PRL Cup for quite a while that he hasn't won a race in. He won in the last 7 seasons. He doesn't want that streak to end.
No, he certainly does not, and he wants to try to continue on with his streak. It's going to be a little bit of a tall order for him, but he will fight to the bitter end in a chance to try to win this race here tonight.
Lights are off on the pace car. We're ready to go racing once again at about 1.5 miles. It's been a very start to this race. I did not realize how hard that sentence would be once I started saying it. It has been a start to the race, but hopefully we don't have many more stops, and we can start having less of a stop-start race in the near future, if that made any sense whatsoever.
Add that to the tongue twisters of Joey Tebbin for the season, I had to say.
What's that? They Might Be Giants song. Don't let's start. Just break some of that out for the rest of the night here, but yeah, we are ready to go racing. Tongue twisters aside, Richard Regan Jr. is back in control over Trent Dinkel. The ever-changing third place spot now belongs to Byron Johnson. He's been working his way forward. He's clear of the 2 private label team hype drivers of James O'Brien and Josh Conker. Josh Daniels is around. Hudson needs to move his way forward. Papano, Walter, and Steve Loving round out the top 10 here. They will be your top 10 as we come to the restart here. The iRacing Sedan pace car once again will pull off, hopefully, potentially for the last time. Richard Regan Jr. in the iridescent livery, the iridescent paint scheme, retakes control of the field. Let's go again at Kansas, and let's hope we can do it for a little bit longer than the last one.
Great jump right there by Richard Reagan Jr. as he tries to hold on to the race lead. Trent Dinkle staying right behind, tucked up. How about Byron Johnson having a good run inside a podium run, but he's under immense pressure from the two private label drivers of Conquer and O'Brien as they make their way down the back straightaway here. Looks to the inside, can't make it work this time around. Conquer sends it in deep.
Conquer down to the bottom. Regan goes up top early. That's interesting. That's kind of new. Dinkle's going to try and get to the inside of him in the tri-oval. Not quite able to get a nose to the inside. He's not going to pull it down to the apron either. Conquer is going to go all the way down. He's going to get close to the grass, but he's going to have to give up some of that momentum as they enter turn one. O'Brien on the outside. Dinkle moves up to the outside line as well. There's a little bit of a train up top, and Dinkle might seem a little bit uncomfortable up there on the top. He didn't get a great run off two there.
He certainly did not, and this opens up the door for Byron Johnson to get a good run on the top side. O'Brien tries to follow him through. Not going to work this time. Dinkle shuts the door on front of Johnson.
Teammates warring behind. Josh Conquer and James O'Brien, and then also Josh Daniels and Chris Hudson is trying to resolve things amongst their own teammates here. Looks like that's going to single file it out, but Brandon Walter tried to peek to the inside, and now Byron Johnson does peek to the outside of Trent Dinkle, arguably using his stuff up a little bit earlier than the two drivers up front, but he is going aggressive. He knows that this has been a stop-start race, as I stumbled over saying that, and he knows the track position is going to be key. If we do keep getting these cautions, you got to maximize your short-run speed.
You certainly have to indeed, as we watch on these drivers trying to work their way through around the circuit. Johnson utilizing those fresh tires to take the outside lane. He'll move up to P2 with a great head of steam, and he is actually tracking to be faster than your race leaders. O'Brien also in the mix to run as fast as laps of the race.
Here comes Johnson in the 81 all the way down to the apron. Can he get to the inside of Richard Reagan Jr. coming into turn one? Not quite, but he's not. I don't think he really wants the inside, frankly. He's going to take it because Regan's going to end up running the top. He knows what Byron Johnson wants to run, and he's going to block it off. Johnson's not quite clear of Regan. Regan in the 56 is going to have the momentum, but I have to imagine that Regan's not going to fight this too hard. As we go into turn three now, no, Regan's still going to run the top. He's going to take away Byron Johnson's line.
As he certainly will try to do so, but how about Johnson now? He's going to try to see what he can do, try to find the opening to get around Richard Reagan Jr. for the race lead as they come across the line, heading off into turn one. They're now going to go to the top side of the racetrack. Reagan trying to take away the fast line for Johnson away.
This is quite a difficult position for Richard Reagan Jr. right now because he is defending against half the 2020 Hendrick Motorsports lineup in Byron Johnson. But Byron Johnson dives to the inside again. He's going to get side by side with Regan, but the momentum is not going to be there at the end. Regan's going to stay ahead. He's still going to be clear coming into turn one, and he's still going to have his optimal line. That's got to be eternally frustrating for Byron.
It certainly does have to be indeed, as we'll keep an eye on some of the action between your top two as they will try to battle it out here in Kansas. Trent Dinkle still there in the mix. He's going to get a little help from his teammate James O'Brien to try to push him up there as they make the run over to turn three.
Josh Daniels trying to run his signature high line. He's probably thinking, this isn't your lane, Byron Johnson. I was the driver who went up there the first time. He's still trying to do that, but he is stagnating a little bit behind Josh Conquer. You can see a little bit of separation between Eric Papineau and Luke Christian behind him. They've separated the top 10 from the rest of the field quite a bit. I also think I saw Steve Loving get into the wall, and there he is again off of turn two. Steve Loving, I think, just hit the wall twice in two corners.
That's going to be a little bit of a tough break right there. He's got to be careful with that, as he has to be making sure that the aerodynamics of that car stay in the parameters, because even those small little scrapes, yes, these cars are a little bit more built tougher compared to the Gen 6 cars as far as with the aerodynamics. It's still going to be a little bit of an iffy situation with too much contact as Reagan powers back on the outside lane for the takeover of the race lead.
See the high line forming up. It is almost like a super speedway, how the momentum builds up on one of these other lines. Private label team hype drivers are trying to work together on the top, and it is going to work for Trent Dinkle. He's going to get clear of Byron Johnson. He's got a huge head of steam. But where's he going to go? He gets to the inside of Richard Reagan Jr. They're almost going to bang doors in the tri-oval. Can Trent Dinkle slide up a little bit and clear Richard Reagan Jr. into turn one? He's certainly going to try it, but he's not going to be able to get clear again.
Certainly is the case here as they work their way down the back straightaway. Reagan will try to hold on to the race lead once again over Trent Dinkle as they will now battle it out once again side by side for the race lead as they come off in turn number 4. How about James O'Brien and Johnson now battling it out with Conker in the mix?
Looks like Byron Johnson's starting to feel the effects of how aggressive he was on those opening laps. He's going to lose out to Conker as well. He's probably going to lose out to Josh Daniels as well. He's trying to fight back on the high side. A lot of private label team hype up here. A lot of private label team hype representation. Dinkle, O'Brien, Conker, Josh Daniels to the outside of Chris Hudson now. Steve Loving still fighting back on the outside. He's not scared of those walls. Both lines still in complete operation here. And I think Byron Johnson just got in the wall as well.
He certainly did. By the looks of it, as Chris Hudson starting to drop back through the field a little bit as he tries to stay inside the top 5, but he's got a little bit of work to do as here comes Joshua Daniels on the outside lane.
That was honestly one of the best runs I've ever seen through 1 and 2 for Chris Hudson there. You don't normally see a driver able to keep the momentum as well as he did on exits. That might tell us that Josh Daniels is starting to struggle a little bit on those tires. Probably not so much as Byron Johnson up ahead, but Chris Hudson is doing a very, very good job on the bottom of keeping the momentum up. Brings it all the way down to the grass and the apron, using every single inch of the track that the Kansas Speedway people have given him. And is he going to be clear of Josh Daniels? He's still not going to be clear. The high line's still working for Daniels, but Hudson is desperately trying to clear him.
Hudson is indeed desperately trying to clear the situation here as we ride on board with him. Great battling here. Great respect amongst the two drivers. They battle for that 6th spot. Papineau in the catbird seat watching on.
Remember, Eric Papineau started 2 restarts ago, or however long ago that was, on lap number 41 in 3rd after that early strategy worked out for him. So he's fallen back just a little bit, but he might be coming back on the long run. Speaking of coming back, Trent Dinkle trying to come back at the lead. But again, the bottom is not working for him. He's going to slot back in behind Richard Regan Jr. Honestly, I think he might just be practicing for the end of the race here, because they say the definition of insanity is just trying the same thing multiple times and then hoping there's a different result. I don't even think Trent expects a different result here. I think he's just, letting Richard Regan Jr. know that he's always going to be there. He's not going to get away.
Certainly is trying to let him know that he's kind of not going to get away indeed, as here comes James O'Brien to the inside of his teammate Trent Dinkle, but with the outside lane, Dinkle will be able to power back through on the outside lane.
Dinkle all the way up to the wall again. He's clearly very comfortable at Kansas because he knows how to run so close to the wall without getting into it. I think he's found the air cushion potentially up there, because that is how close he's getting to that wall every single lap. Let's see what Dinkle does again. This time Dinkle goes to the top now. Regan elects to bring it down to the bottom. He lets Trent Dinkle get a little bit of a shot at the top. Let's see what Dinkle can do on Regan's usual line. He gets a decent run. It's nothing incredible, but you can see the momentum is still clearly there on the top. Richard Regan Jr. takes it back. Dinkle takes the inside again, and nothing's going to shift around in that battle for the lead. These are two drivers that can use both lanes, but they're both smart enough to take the optimal lane from each other.
They certainly are, as they will continue to do battle for position as they head off side by, or nose to tail. Top 4 now as Conker looks to the inside of O'Brien to see if he can pick up an extra spot as they work their way through, but Dinkle gets a great run off turn 2 to close the gap now down to about a car length.
Here comes Chris Hudson to the inside of Byron Johnson, or not quite. Looks like Byron's about going to get clear of him into turn 3. Hudson's going to send it in the middle of 3 and 4, so he is going to build up a little bit of momentum, but Johnson's still going to have the momentum. Speaking of momentum, Richard Regan Jr. still making it work on the high line. We can keep peeking up at this battle for the lead every single time, and Richard Regan Jr. still manages to find the advantage. Every time we look at him, every single challenge from Dinkle, Richard Regan Jr. will not be phased by this.
He
just want to update people on Abner Acosta as well. Sorry, Taylor. This has been a very un-Abner Acosta day. I know this is, it's a very high-speed track. Abner always excels at drivers' tracks, at short tracks, at places where you're not necessarily as full throttle for as long as you are here. But I didn't expect to see Abner Acosta running 12th this late in the run.
Certainly didn't either, and he is absolutely a little bit quiet, maybe trying to see what he can do towards the end of this race and just trying to save a little bit of equipment as he progresses on through.
Gonna get clear Clayton Ham there, so It's better than it was a couple laps ago. When I looked at him about 10 laps ago, he's running in 15th with Byron McDonald and the like. So I think we might start to be seeing the usual Abner Acosta thing, where he turns everything on later in the run. He's going to get to the inside of his teammate Brandon Walter. It looks like coming into turn 1. Not quite. He's going to have to get back in line. But yeah, Abner Acosta, just a very, very nondescript day. I'll say that much.
Very much so. Here, as we go a little further back, Luke Christians and Clayton Ham having a little bit of close contact almost, as the 21 machine will try to clear him as they head off into 3.
Very, very close to the wall again for Clayton Ham. That's going to open the door for Byron McDonald to get to the inside to fight for P14. Byron was the driver who also turned things on later on in the run. In the first stint, we only had about a 35 lap stint green, I think. And also, I did just notice on the side of that Martin Sport paint scheme, that isn't just a very big L on the side of that car. I thought they might have forgot to stamp the number on, but no, there's definitely an 8 there. It just doesn't show up when you're looking at it from a distance.
It certainly is the case here, as they will work his way through side by side for position between B-Saw and Clayton Ham as they will work their way through. But here comes Trent Dingle with a head of steam.
I think we might have to break out the race spot soundboard again, Taylor, because every single time we see this, we see, oh, there's Dingle with a head of steam. He's going to send it into turn 1 and 2. Oh, Richard Regan Jr. still has control. He's still going to hold the position.
He certainly is going to hold the position for the time being, as they will race off of turn number 4, and Dingle try to send it in, but not able to do so.
You can see a little bit of separation again. Even as these two continue to fight, they're pulling away from O'Brien and Conker and Hudson. They're pulling away from Byron Johnson, who's kind of a cork in the bottle of the rest of the pack. They continue to fall back. Dinkle's found the outside again. He's going to get a run again, but it's not going to be a good enough run to pull alongside Regan coming into 3. He's going to dive it to the inside, but I have a feeling it's going to be a typical Trent Dingle move here. Not clear enough to go for the slide, and Regan's going to hang on. But how much do you think Dinkle's learning here? Do you think he's probably studying how close he has to be, how far alongside he's going to have to be once this is actually coming down to the last couple of laps to actually make the move? Is he just doing research here?
He would have to be, in order to learn what he needs to do in order to try to take home the checkered flag here, and maybe even preventing drivers such as Richard Regan Jr. to win this race. On as he had a big off almost right there off of turn 2.
That's a little bit too much research, Trent Dingle. I don't know if he hit the wall or if he just overcorrected there, but that was a huge moment. Last week at Phoenix, he had a huge moment from the lead as well. He wrecked out of the lead, and that was another stumble from Trent Dingle.
Indeed, we'll have to keep track to see how he's able to overcome the situation here for him, as he now loses a little bit of time. Now almost 0.4 of a second separates him as we ride on board with Luke Christian as he is trying to break into the top 10.
Good to see the world's shortest staircase back as usual. That's basically the third member of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series team at this point. It's me, it's Taylor, well, it's Hugo, so it's the fourth member of the team. It's the world's shortest staircase behind Luke Christian. Always love to see that. And he is, once again, doing a great job on the long run here. Last season when we saw Luke Christian in his first PRL Cup season, maybe it was the fault of the open setups. We didn't really see much of him. He was just kind of around, but this season he has absolutely turned things up, and he has been a top 10 threat, a top 5 threat every single week. And it's been like a new Luke Christian.
Certainly has been, and he has been putting on some great performances. Looking forward to seeing what he can do possibly in 2023 with him, as we look forward to seeing his run in that campaign as he continues to try to hold on into the top 10.
Abner Acosta up into P8 now. We looked away from him for a moment. I was dissing him a little bit. I was like, come on, Abner, what are you doing? You're running down there in the dozens for P12 and P13. He's turned things up. He's found some tire life. He's up into P8. Byron Johnson almost gets into the wall in turn 2. That looks like that's going to be a free P7 for Acosta. Papano's going to follow him through. I think Abner Acosta's doing Abner Acosta things, and he's been saving his stuff up, and he's on a charge forward now.
Certainly is indeed, as they're going to now go 3 wide across the line almost here, as Luke Christian gets a big head of steam to close in on Papano and Byron Johnson. 3 wide through 1.
Whoa, Christian fades up a little bit, doesn't get into the side of Eric Papano, but he could not have gotten any closer there. They're still going to be 3 wide down the back straight, I think. No, Papineau is not going to be able to get to the inside of Byron Johnson. He's going to have to get to the outside, or he is going to get to the outside, and I think that might be the optimal place, because Byron Johnson's struggling a little bit. Here comes Eric Papineau to the outside on the optimal line with the momentum. That should be Eric Papineau up in P8.
It's looking to be so as they work their way through, as we also have a little bit further up the road watching Papineau getting in the position over Johnson. Battle for P4 between O'Brien, Hudson, and Conquer as they were trying to swap positions.
Lou Christian now to the inside of the 81. The number 21 easily clear on the... Well, I thought he was easily clear on the bottom. Not quite. Byron Johnson fighting back a little bit better than I thought he would. But look at this up front. Bentley Glazer, another driver who's been good at saving the tires this season. He always hangs back in the opening stints of the race, and you really see him at the ends of these stints. I don't think we've mentioned his name once so far tonight, and he is on the attack now to the outside of Chris Hudson. Bentley Glazer's going to be up into the top 5, and look at that. Who's behind him? It's Abner Acosta in the number 5, and Abner Acosta is the fastest driver on track right now by about 3/10.
Certainly is. He took care of his equipment, and he is now starting to pick his way through the field and go and challenge for the race lead as he works his way up to the field, setting his sights on Glazer and Hudson. He's thinking about taking them 3 wide, thinks better of it as Glazer shuts the door.
Yeah, Abner Acosta's probably... Well, I don't know. Is he running more conservatively than he normally would because he wants to survive for once, or is he just going balls to the wall because he's been taken out so many times this season that he can't fight for the championship anymore? I'm not sure what position he'd be in. He definitely knows that he has the best strategy right now. He has the best tires in the field. He can win the race. But you know, if you're 7th in the championship, if you're out of contention, why not send it 3 wide?
Why not indeed? Go for it. Might as well. I mean, you're already guaranteed into the championship, so you definitely can make a chance to go for it.
I think that's why Abner has approximately... Let's see. Let's get the number right here. Yeah, I think that's why Abner has 47 more PRL wins than I do. Probably because I'd be sending it 3 wide there, and he's thinking about the grand scheme of things.
Certainly has to be indeed here, as he now clears both Glazer and Hudson and breaks into the top 5 once again.
Abner has a very easy road in front of him. I guess I can't say it's an easy road, but it is his teammates in Josh Conquer and James O'Brien. I can't imagine they're going to fight him too hard if they know that tire advantage that Abner has. Bentley Glazer as well is going to try and follow the 5 through. I think Bentley might have to turn off sim stamped numbers because I see 2 number 4s on the side of that Roland entry. But he's going to keep driving those 2 4s forward and maybe try and fight for P4. Once Abner Acosta clears James O'Brien, he's going to peek to the inside of his teammate. Still doesn't have quite the momentum he needs, but when you're on as fresh tires as Abner Acosta is, when you've been saving your stuff as well as he has, I have to imagine he's going to be able to make a move on the bottom when nobody else has.
Might as well indeed here. He's going to try to see what he can do as he sets his sights on his teammate O'Brien. Goes to the inside. O'Brien goes to the top side, and we'll see if the continuation of the charge of Acosta will be able to fight his way through. Is O'Brien going to give way, or is he going to try to fight him a little bit? So far, the answer is going to be he looks like he's going to fight just a tick as they come across the line.
I think you might have unintentionally merged those 2 names there. I think you said Abner Acosta's Irish cousin, Abner Acosta.
Might have, I did, unfortunately. Add that to the menu.
Abner Acosta, good Irish boy.
You can tell we have fun here on the PRL Cup Series.
I can't do my Irish accent tonight. It's not working.
Well, at least your internet is working tonight. We had a little bit of a scare right there for you.
Yeah, at the very least, at least that's working. And Abner has he has conquered Josh Conquer. He's up into P3. And it's got to be a foregone conclusion right now for Abner Acosta to take the lead of the race. He's still, even when he's passing his teammates, he's still 3/10 a lap faster than Dinkel and Regan. I mean, it's been a struggle to pass Regan for Dinkel, but Abner can't have that much trouble here, I don't think.
Well, he certainly cannot as he tries to work his way through, and he is picking up the times. He's now less than 0.6 of a second and closing. As trouble for Dinkel, he loses it out there. Whoa. And that has to cause a big checkup for Acosta as he now has to fall back, losing all that valuable time.
It is always Abner Acosta. I mentioned, if you've been with us for the past 8 or 9 weeks, he's been taken out by lapped cars, losing it in front of him from the lead of the race twice. Now it's his teammate getting into Richard Regan Jr. He doesn't take out Abner Acosta finally. Abner's able to avoid it, but that was a huge moment, and Abner Acosta is going to be as frustrated as he's ever been, I'm sure.
I think that's the most frustrated he's been in a long time as we see Trent Dinkle coming down pit road. And Papano.
He's got to just be minimizing his losses at this point. He's already lost that much time. You can make it to the end on fuel. I think he's just decided, you know what? I've already fallen down to 7th. Might as well bring it down now. Papano's done the same thing, like you said. Steve Loving, Byron McDonald, Joe Hoggard, and well, Joe Hoggard and Skip Gandy are still on pit road because they've got heavy damage. Dinkle's going to put tires and fuel in the motor vehicle, and he'll be back out on track. And Chris Hudson almost loses it off of 4 this time.
Struggling starting to come into play here for some of our drivers as they are closing in this battling here, and as we get ready for the final run of pit stops for your drivers. Now the question is going to be, who else will come down pit road now that Dinkle has a fresh set of tires, but he is 1 lap down for the time being.
Regan got kind of a new lease on life there. Dinkle hit him. There was contact there. I'm sure that scared him a little bit, but I think he was probably more scared about Abner Acosta charging forward behind him. Abner's still moving. He's still only a second behind. He still has a very good chance of taking the lead of this race. But at least for the moment, Richard Regan Jr. can take a little bit of a breath right now and just run his own race. He's got nobody to fight with for once.
Certainly does not indeed here. 0.6 of a second separates Conker and Reagan as Acosta now tries to fight his way up through the field. And he will clear teammate James O'Brien.
Try number 2 for Abner Acosta. He should get clear of Josh Conker in 1 and 2 here. Let's see, does he go to the inside or the outside? Conker's going to take the outside. Acosta's going to take the inside. And once again, Acosta not clear Josh Conker. I thought he was going to have an easier time there, but Conker is fighting back quite a bit on the outside. Acosta's going to have to try and clear him in 3 and 4 this time. Going to steal a little bit of the side draft down the back straight, and now into turn 3. There he goes. Acosta is clear of Josh Conker. He's up into 2nd, and now Regan's got to start getting scared again.
He certainly does, but the problem is with Acosta having to brake check almost to make sure he didn't get in the back bumper his teammate Trent Dinkle. How much tires did that fall off happen for him as he is trying to now continue? He's still tracking in the right direction for the time being, but what damage did those tires do when he had to brake up in order to not make contact with Trent?
My memory could be wrong from like 10 laps ago because I got some short-term memory tonight, but I don't know if I saw the tires slide at all. I'm not sure if he locked it up. I think he just, I guess that's that road course experience for Abner Acosta. That's what he did before he came to the NASCAR side. He was doing GT3s and open wheels and stuff in the PRL, and I guess you learn how to brake without locking it up there.
Yes, indeed, and looks like to be the case because he is really closing in. 0.4 of a second, now down to 0.2 of a second now of your race leader of Richard Regan Jr. before the pit stop cycle.
Zemke and Ham are in as well. They've come down for their green flag pit stops, but Taylor is exactly right. That gap has come down to almost naught for the lead. Abner Acosta to the inside of Trent Dinkle. He's been the only driver who's been able to make the inside work. That's because he has saved his tires so much better than the rest of the field. Acosta to the inside in turn 1. Can he do what his teammate Dinkle was never able to do? Not quite yet, but it's almost a foregone conclusion with how fresh those tires are. He gets side by side with Regan coming into 3. He's going to be side by side with him coming into 3, and that's typically what you need to do to be able to fade up to the top. There goes Abner Acosta. He is clear Richard Regan Jr., and for the first time in quite a while, there's a new leader.
There certainly is a new leader here at Kansas Speedway as we're closing in on the end of this fuel window for your race leaders. Acosta now going to try to see if he can stretch it out before he has to come down pit road, because currently right now looking over everything, they should be coming down anywhere between the next 3 to 4 laps.
And Dinkle is easily going to take the lead here. He's been about a second and a half faster than Acosta and Regan over the past couple of laps, so he's going to have a huge lead, but the question is, for how long is he going to be able to keep up that huge lead? Because Abner and Richard are going to have 10-lap fresher tires in the closing stages of this race. That's the strategy of the green flag pit stops. Everything evens out eventually, And you gotta predict. Do you wanna suffer at the end, or do you want to suffer at the beginning?
It's a situation that he's going to have to play off here, as he is now really putting the pace up as he tries to hunt down your top two in order to get back up onto the lead lap after picketing around James O'Brien. He's going to make short work of these drivers up ahead of him.
Look at Regan Jr. through the middle. Got blocked off there by Lou Christian, but you can see the effects of the new tires here. Papano and Christian both one lap down, but they're on fresh tires. O'Brien and Conker are not. Well, actually, Lou Christian, that was for position. Forgive me. Lou Christian just passed Josh Conker for position for P3 on track right now. Eric Papano's still going to get to the outside of him. A little bit of an overcorrection for Conker there. He almost gets into the wall. But you can see the effects of new tires. As Loving peeks to the inside. There's barely a car-shaped hole there, and he's going to shove Lou Christian out of the way.
A little bit of close contact right here, and it's going to be exciting to see as we're now down to 45 laps to go in the race.
Nothing Lou Christian can do to fight back there, because Loving was on those fresher tires. He wanted that position, and he certainly took it, but that was a scary moment. Conker's in, Walter's in, Josh Daniels is in, I think Bentley Glazer was in. Everybody's coming in. We're running out of time here. We're running out of fuel in these cars. Let's see, is Abner Acosta going to bring it down pit road this time around, or is he going to be able to make it around one more time? No, he's coming down. O'Brien, though, is going to stay out for one more lap.
See here as they continue on through the field, O'Brien will stay out for at least one more lap. Chris Hudson will follow suit. Mark Kalin also considering has to come down pit road. How about his recovery after getting involved in the lap one spin?
Kalen's hoping for that Hail Mary caution. He's back on the lead lap. That's Mark Kalen's style. He doesn't give up even when he's in the Mark Kalen season of trouble in every single race. He never gives up, and he's hoping that this week might be the week that everything turns around. But James O'Brien, he's going to stay out for more than one extra lap. He is going until the hard end of this fuel tank, and I have to imagine he's just waiting for a caution. But he's also got to try not to be the caution as he almost gets into the wall in turn one.
Certainly is. Got to be a very bit careful here as a couple of other cars come down pit road. Lou Christian taking a long time down on pit road, over 30 seconds after that contact he had.
And Pat Harvey is back on the lead lap.
He certainly is, as we see James O'Brien coming down pit road and seeing what he can do. Now we're going to keep an eye and see how everyone else plays out in this run. Chris Hudson stays out another lap. Mark Kalin is going to continue on racing here as well. Of course, for Mark Kalin, he's got another 7-8 laps before he can consider coming down pit road.
Just saw that Lou Christian has gotten a black flag for an unsafe pit entry, so that's why you can still see him sat in the background. That's a shame for Lou Chris Hudson almost loses it coming into pit entry as well. That's not going to be a penalty. That's just going to be a self-serving penalty, I guess. He's lost the time from the lead there. But Lou Christian got a big penalty. He's still on pit road after a very, very strong run. So that's a shame for him. But Hudson comes in. Mark Kalin now takes over the lead of this race, and he becomes the driver who's really hoping for a caution, as is Pat Harvey, rather. Trent Dinkel is kind of the real leader right now, over Eric Papano, over Steve Loving, over Byron McDonald. And then you look at Richard Regan Jr., 7 or 9 seconds behind Dinkel. That's what he has to bring down over the course of the next 40 laps.
It's going to be tricky to see how this will play out for some of our drivers, as Mark Kalin will continue running laps around the circuit, Pat Harvey as well. But Trent Dinkel really putting a run here as he tries to close up to the next driver, which is Pat Harvey, to move up into P2.
Let's hope Hudson can have a better time on pit exit than he did on pit entry. Looks far more straightforward. Looks like a nice crispy and creamy line there. Playing with a little bit of fire there on the exit, but Chris Hudson does rejoin the circuit ahead of Lou Christian, who is a few laps down, I believe. Let's see, where is Chris Hudson overall? Where is that actually factored him in? I think it's not been very good for Chris Hudson. He's actually in 20th right now. That'll be 18th once everybody comes in.
Yeah, that's not a good run for Chris Hudson here, and definitely with him trying to get back into the championship 4.
He's definitely hoping for a caution and some craziness, because he came in 4 points below the cut line. If he's going to be racing for 18th overall, he's going to be going home empty-handed, unfortunately. But Mark Kalin still leads the race, and he can keep going around for a couple more laps. I have to imagine that Mark Kalen's a slightly more fuel-thirsty driver than some of those others who are saving a little bit, but he can still go, 3, 4, 5 more laps and continue to wait for that caution that he really needs.
He certainly is. Of course, he's representing the University of Kentucky out there as he's trying to make sure that they work their way through. We'll have to see if the University of Kentucky ended up winning their game this weekend for him to make sure if he's actually a happy camper or not so happy camper, but I'm pretty sure with him leading, it kind of helped taking away any situation for him, regardless of what happened to the University of Kentucky.
Let's see, does Kalen bring it down this time? No, but in turn 4, he gets a little bit of a wiggle. Like I mentioned before, you might want a caution to come out, but you also really, really don't want to be the caution. And whenever Mark Kalen gets a wiggle like that, it always scares me. It always worries me. I don't want Mark Kalen to be the cause of another caution.
Yeah, we do not need that happening here tonight, so we'll see what he can do as he tries to stretch it out a little bit further in order to make sure he stays up towards the front of the field before Trent Dinkle chases him down.
Jeff Hollingsworth to the inside of Robert Besaw Jr. This is 4-track position. Both drivers on basically exactly the same strategy. Jeff Hollingsworth on a little bit fresher rubber by about 7 laps or so. And you can see the effects of only 7 laps of fresher rubber. It still definitely has an effect. Hollingsworth is clear. Besaw, he's up into P12, and Waldo Walden up ahead is also on similarly aged tires to Hollingsworth, so that'll be probably a little bit tougher of a move.
Certainly is going to be a little bit tougher of a move indeed for him as he continues to try to hold on for this position as they make their way down over in towards the back straightaway. But here comes Abner Acosta as he sets his sights on Pat Harvey.
Pat Harvey just hoping that something will go his way and he'll be able to pull something crazy off and make the round of 4, but it has not gone his way at all. He gets passed by Abner Acosta, who now continues his charge forward. Let's see, Acosta is now 7 seconds off of his teammate. Regan is now only 4.5 seconds off Dinkle as well. That was 9 seconds a couple of laps ago, about 10 laps ago. So Richard Regan Jr. is 0.8 a lap faster than Trent Dinkle. Abner Acosta is also 0.8 a lap faster than Trent Dinkle. Dinkle's a sitting duck right now, and I'm just questioning what he can actually do to defend here other than hope for a caution and hope everybody comes in behind him.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see that come into play for our drivers as they continue to work their way around the circuit. As Acosta is now trying to see if he can break into the top 5 once again as he sets his sights on Bentley Glazer, who's about a second up the road. And to touch on Mark Kalen right quick, yes, the Kentucky Wildcats did end up losing to Vanderbilt 24-21, so him leading the race here tonight is definitely helping ease the pain of the loss that he had to deal with over the weekend.
I thought I heard enough on Wednesday nights about UK sports and Tennessee, but Taylor, you're bringing that to me too now. I can't escape it.
Well, you gotta have a little bit of fun with that here.
I guess. They do love their college sports in Kansas as well. So I guess there's our Kansas reference. Finally, we finally worked it in. Not quite March Madness yet, but Nick Hunter did tell us that March 18th or March 5th rather is going to be the end of next season, 2022 season 1 or 2023 season 1 rather. So maybe we will get a little bit of March Madness in the PRL next year. Mark Kalen's brought it down pit road finally. I'm not sure if he got an unsafe pit entry penalty for that. I was looking away for a second, but I saw a lot of smoke, and Richard Regan Jr. prepares to smoke Eric Papineau around the outside.
He certainly is. As we ride on board with him down the back straightaway, he has moved up P2, 2.7 seconds back. He's got a lot of work to do in order to try and challenge for the race lead here, as we have not a whole lot of time left for our drivers as they make the run down the back straight or across the front straightaway here. The time, 2.5 seconds separating your top 2.
We did just get confirmation from intrepid whistleblower Nick Hunter that Mark Kalen did in fact get a speeding penalty, so you didn't even need to look head on at that. You could see that in your peripheral vision, and that still looked like speeding for Mark Kalen. So tough race, gets even tougher once more. He is going to want to throw 2022 in the trash can, I'm sure. But we have a race for the lead now. 30 laps to go. Richard Regan Jr. has 2 seconds to bring down to Trent Dinkle, but I think his more worrying opponent is Abner Acosta behind, who's also about 2 seconds behind. All 3 of these drivers on differently aged rubber, but we know Abner Acosta is the best of the 3 of them, at least at Kansas tonight, at saving it.
He certainly is, and we're going to see him try to work his way through. He's now 3.5 seconds back from your race leader and definitely trying to hunt down the rest of the field as he breaks into the top 5 and focuses on Bentley Glazer.
Bentley Glazer has just cleared Eric Papineau as well, so they're fighting for third. That's actually probably pretty good for Abner Acosta because that's slowing them both down. That opens the door for Abner to get to the inside of Mr. Eric Papineau. On the bottom in 1 and 2, Abner is going to try and be clear of his fellow yellow and black entry, and he is going to be clear. Abner Acosta, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, up into P4. Papineau almost loses it off of 2 as well.
Certainly did as he tries to hold on. He still maintains a shot of maybe staying in the top 5 for the time being as they work their way off of turn number 4.
Next up on the hunted list for Abner Acosta is Bentley Glazer with those double 4s. He's seeing one singular 5 behind him, though. In 3 and 4, what can Abner Acosta do? Does he go to the bottom? Does he go to the top? Glazer just kind of decides to park it in the middle. He lets Abner go wherever he wants, and there goes Abner to the bottom, driving straight by Bentley Glazer. We got a 3-way fight for the win now with nobody in between them.
Certainly is as they work their way through. Now it's going to be a fight to see who will come out on top, closing in on 25 laps to go around the circuit. This is going to get exciting.
Trent Dinkel last lap 33.0. Richard Regan Jr. and Abner Acosta's last laps were both 32.6s. So Dinkel right now is the 3rd fastest car on track, but can Abner do exactly what he did in the previous stint and save his stuff to the end? There are only 25 laps to go, so does Abner actually have enough time to use his strategy to the full effect and bring down that 1 second gap to Regan, or is he going to have to push harder earlier now and hope that he can find some short run pace that he might not have had earlier?
It's going to be a mix of both. He can save a little bit of tires in order to go and chase down and save it for the end, but he's also got to put the pressure on your top 2 in order to make sure he can go up there and challenge, because if you save a little bit, there could be a caution. He'll have fresher tires, of course, if they decide to stay out on the racing circuit, but if he decides to use too much of those tires during the stage, he may run out of tires and towards the end of this run and not have any chance to go hunt down Dinkel or Regan.
The first of the battles begins now. Richard Regan Jr. and Trent Dinkel in the same camera shot here for the lead. Tom Amasi is about to go a lap down, so no worries about him. At least we can hope. There have been troubles with lapped cars in the past, but Tom Amasi is not one of those drivers who causes trouble, so Dinkel should be able to get by him fairly straightforwardly. As I say that, though, Amasi can't really decide where to go. He's kind of parked it in the middle of the track. Dinkel had to check up just a little bit. He is clear now, but that checked up both Dinkel and Regan, I think. And look at Abner Acosta, only a second behind both of them now.
Certainly is, and he's going to try to see what he can do in order to go have a shot of this, as Dinkel will try to make sure he can hold off. He's going to take the outside lane to prevent Richard Regan Jr. going around, but we know Regan is also strong on the bottom of the racetrack. These two are going to battle. Here goes Abner Acosta. He's in the picks.
Acosta's going to have slightly of an easier time clearing Tom Amasi, luckily for him. But Regan and Dinkel side by side through 1 and 2 for the race lead. Regan's not going to get clear. It's reverse deja vu from the battle earlier on in the race. And as these two continue to fight, that's perfect for Abner Acosta because he's able to bring that gap down. He's able to put 3 cars in one singular shot for this race lead. The 3 best drivers in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series all meeting each other in one shot. And did Trent Dinkel just meet the outside wall there, or was that an illusion?
I think that might have been an illusion because there you see Trent Dinkel still staying in this fight for the race lead. He'll look to the bottom of the racetrack on Richard Regan as they come off of turn number 2. He tries to get there, but not able to do it as Acosta closes in.
Abner Acosta to the inside of his teammate Trent Dinkel. That's going to be a pretty easy move. Dinkel's not even really able to fight it. He's going to fade up a little bit, and Abner is going to be clear down the front straight. It now becomes a straight fight. Richard Regan Jr. versus Abner Acosta. 2nd and 3rd all-time in PRL wins. Can Richard Regan Jr. go for number 51, or can Abner finally reach the half century with 50 wins himself?
Gonna try to see what he can do as he clears Trent Dinkle for second now and sets his sights on Richard Reagan Jr. with a head of steam down the back straightaway. This is what we are excited to see, as this is possibility of seeing these three drivers battle it out for a championship.
Abner Acosta to the inside of Richard Regan Jr. The bumpers got very, very close, and Regan gets loose off of turn 4. That's going to be the easiest move of the season for Abner Acosta, and he is clear of Regan into the lead now, and he sets his sights literally off into the sunset.
Certainly is, as he will now try to pull away here and really set the pace. A 32.9 compared to a 33.3 last time by for your top two, but Trent Dinkle, he's not done with Richard Reagan Jr. He's going to go in there and try to take second away.
He's going to try, but remember, Dinkle is on 10 lap older tires than both of these two drivers up front. Acosta, 24 laps old. Regan, 26 laps old. Bentley Glazer, 27 laps old. Trent Dinkle, 35 lap old tires. So Dinkle might not even have third in the bag here. I think Bentley Glazer might have a shot at third or even second.
It's a possibility to keep an eye as we watch them come off of turn 2 down the back straightaway here. And currently watching the times, Glazer is closing in, but not a whole lot compared to what we saw Acosta do, as we see Dinkle go to the inside once again.
And the effects of those newer tires right now, that long extended stint that Chris Hudson did. Remember, he almost lost it coming into pit entry. He came out in 18th. Doesn't matter though, the tire advantage for Chris Hudson has worked out incredibly. He's up to P6 already. He's 8 spots above Josh Daniels. Chris Hudson is making the round of 4 on points as of right now.
He certainly has been indeed, and we're going to keep an eye and see what happens during this stage in the closing minutes around the circuit for your race leaders. As there's a little bit of a bobble right there for Trent Dinkle. Got to be careful not to go below that white line.
There's been quite a bit of glare there in turn 3, so it's kind of hard to not go below the white line for some of these drivers. If they don't have muscle memory necessarily, it's easy to get completely blinded by the light like Manfred Mann and make a little bit of an incident there. But Trent Dinkle got away with it that time. He's still trying to run the top, but the top on 10 lap older tires does not give you an advantage over Richard Regan Jr. And Dinkle is just trying to ride it home here. He's clinched into the championship finale. He's clinched into the round of 4 with a win. He's still going to be in championship contention for just season 4 with Richard Regan Jr. with 1 round to go, but it's going to be about an 18-point gap between those two drivers. So basically, Trent Dinkle's going to have to hope for some very, very big misfortune for Richard Regan Jr. if he wants to win this championship.
Certainly is the case here, and we're going to have to see how this will play out for these two drivers as they battle it out for the Season 4 championship and possibly the 2022 regular season championship as they will work their way through. Also, Bentley Glazer now coming into the picks. He's got a big head of steam coming his way as they come off of turn number 4. These 4 blue machines will go head-to-head for the second spot.
Yeah, I hope your stream's not in 240p because you will not be able to tell these 3 cars apart. But we ride on board with Bentley Glazer, fittingly in the 4th position for the number 4. But I have a feeling he's not going to be there for much longer. Running that middle line, interestingly, just 1 lane above the bottom on that checked line. Chasing down Trent Dinkle. Dinkle moves about a lane above the apron. He's doing a little bit of a late apex, almost road course style. But Bentley Glazer is closing and closing and closing. I'd say only in 1 or 2 more laps, Bentley Glazer is going to have his first shot at Dinkle.
Certainly is a tough break here as they work their way through as we ride on board with the OGR Racing of Glazer holding that top side line, and he's going to try to see if he can build that momentum to go and chase down Dinkle for third.
It might not even be 1 or 2 more laps. It might be half a lap before Bentley Glazer's first attack. He's going to run the top. Dinkle's going to go up to the top as well as we drive into the setting sun. Glazer's got the run, though. He's going to have a little bit of a draft through the quad oval here, through the tri-oval, rather. Dinkle all the way down. Glazer's not interested in going down there. He knows he has the pace advantage. He doesn't need to get that aggressive. He's going to stay here behind Dinkle, running his signature line again. He's just inching forward. This is very, it's conservative driving from Bentley Glazer, but it's probably smart driving because he's definitely still going to make the move either way, but he's not throwing haymakers into the corners.
Certainly is not indeed here as they continue to watch their way through. Here comes Glazer to the inside of Dinkle. Dinkle's got to be careful because lap traffic's going to come up. They're going to go 3 wide as they head off into 1.
Mike Witt in the 26 does end up getting out of the way, and Bentley Glazer still to the inside of Trent Dinkle. Let's see, does he still have a tire advantage over Dinkle? Now that he has managed to get to the inside, he's actually lost a little bit of ground through 1 and 2 there. He wasn't able to stick side by side with Dinkle that time. Into 3 and 4 here. We're running out of laps for Bentley Glazer to be able to do this. There's only going to be 10 more at the line. Again, Bentley much better through 3 and 4. A little bit of a wiggle by Dinkle. Glazer almost gets into him. He almost gets into him again through the D-shaped oval. Glazer is all over the place a little bit, and it's proving a lot tougher than I thought to get by Trent Dinkle.
Certainly is, and this is going to be a big fight to the finish here. 10 laps to go here for your race leader of Abner Acosta, 2.3 seconds ahead of Reagan Jr.
I'm surprised that Richard Regan Jr. hasn't actually really checked out of this battle for 3rd and 4th. He's got about half a second ahead of Trent Dinkle, so he's not really in touching distance, but I expected him to just drive up into the distance to have a pretty lonely second place, and he has not been able to do that. Bentley Glazer still not able to get by Dinkle. I almost wonder, does he need to be shifting up his line? And as I say that, he does exactly that. He moves up to the top line. He gets off the Bentley Glazer line 1 groove above the bottom, and he's trying to beat Trent Dinkle at his own game at the top.
He certainly is here, and they work their way through and continues on up to the top side of the racetrack. Dinkle and Glazer are going to stay nose to tail as they come off of turn number 4 here. This is going to be exciting to see, and they continue to do battle as there's a big slide for Richard Regan Jr. He crashes into the wall.
No caution. He's still pointing in a straight line, but Richard Regan Jr. has just brought Trent Dinkle back into 2022 Season 4 championship contention, and he, I think, has just eliminated himself from the round of 4.
That changes everything.
That changes absolutely everything. He just got a little wiggle off of turn 4. He was in a completely comfortable second, and he just loses it.
He certainly does. Just a heartbreak indeed for him, and it just shows nobody's safe around this circuit.
Richard Regan Jr., the most dominant driver here in 2022 Season 4, suddenly is on the outside looking in. He's forced to bring it down pit road. That car is destroyed. He cannot drive that thing to the end. And Josh Daniels and Chris Hudson say thank you very much. We will take that spot in the round of 4 away from you, Richard. He's still going to be in a good place for the Season 4 championship over just the Season 4 championship, not the playoffs, because he's still got a 15-point lead over Trent Dinkle. He might lose that by 1 or 2 points, but he'll be in contention for the Season 4 title. But he needed to point his way into the championship 4 in the playoffs, and he cannot do that in 16th in the pits.
It certainly is here, as he will make his way over towards pit road, and unfortunate for him, this will change a whole lot for the championship for both the regular season and as well as also for the Season 4 championship. It's going to be exciting to see what happens at Chicagoland.
This is why you tune into the end of the races. It's never a foregone conclusion. Trent Dinkle might not be done with his shenanigans either. He almost loses it off of 4 as well. Little bit of a bobble. That's exactly what Bentley Glazer wanted to see, to try and forge another attack into 1 and 2 again. Glazer's running a little bit higher, trying to get just about an inch higher than Trent Dinkle. Another wiggle from Dinkle as well. Dinkle is struggling very, very much here, and he knows he can't lose it because he's been given a gift in the championship here. If I was him, if I had to let Bentley Glazer by, I would absolutely do it, because I am not losing 3rd place here and wrecking.
He certainly is not, and he is going to try to hold on and make sure he stays in position here, as he is also having to negotiate through some lap traffic.
It's Mark Kalin behind on fresher tires, so he's actually going to be able to make this move on the bottom. He's going to drive by both of these guys, but Mark Kalin might be the pick that Bentley Glazer needs right now, frankly. I don't know how much Mark Kalin's interested in fighting with these guys. He is 2 laps down, but he is so much quicker that he kind of has to make the move, and he's trying to give him as wide of a berth as possible, but through the middle of the corner, even on those fresher tires, it is a struggle to make that move. He's going to get by, so it's not going to interfere with this battle at all, but Trent Dinkle is still under the ultimate pressure. He's got a car to the inside of him, he's got a car behind him, and he's also got a car that's trying to kill him.
Oh no, indeed. Trent Dinkle is dodging left and right, trying to bob and weave his way through to get to the end of this race.
Kalin should be easily clear here into 3 and 4. Okay, there goes Mark Kalin. He's got one of it. Well, he actually doesn't have one of his laps back because he's got to pass Abner Acosta to get that other lap back. But Abner Acosta is going to take 3 laps to go here at the line. 4.5 miles left to go here at Kansas. Bentley Glazer still all over the back of Dinkle, but it has been an uphill battle for him. He has not been able to make the move. Still trying to run the high line, still trying to build up that momentum, and it's just not coming for him.
It certainly is the case here as they work their way through and continue on the final lap. White flag for Abner Acosta.
Yeah, just one lap short on time, interestingly. So we're only going to go 144 laps here tonight. Abner Acosta, he's actually going to take the checkered flag a little bit early for the 50th time in the PRL. Abner Acosta is a winner. It's going to be a photo finish to the line for second. Trent Dinkle just barely hangs on for second, and he will fight for a Season 4 championship next week, and he will make the round of 4 as well. But Abner Acosta will also make the round of 4 for this win, and I cannot undersell this. Richard Regan Jr. beat him to 50 wins a couple weeks ago, but Abner joins the fray. 50 wins across Cup, Trucks, Open Wheel competition, and GT3 competition in the PRL. Abner Acosta makes it a half century, and he finally gets a win this season too to keep up his 8-season winning streak in the PRL Cup Series.
Now the race is on to see who gets to, I believe now, 75 wins.
Bradley Holly leads the way overall with 115 wins.
Oh my.
Yeah, and he's got 64 of them come from the trucks, so he's probably unbeatable in the trucks. I'm not going to say he's uncatchable in the Cup Series, because with the way Abner and Trent and Richard have been in this series, with Bradley Holly absent, it is entirely possible that we could see somebody reach 115, but I'm sure Abner is very, very happy with 50 right now. He's happy that his terrible season of terrible luck has finally come to a close, and these are some very deserved donuts for Abner Acosta, his first win of the season.
Great drive indeed for him as he burns it down here at the front straightaway.
Won both championships in NASCAR last season, Cup and Trucks. He's still got a shot at the Truck Championship. He might have a shot at the Cup Championship in the playoffs as well. Abner Acosta wins at Kansas over his teammate Trent Dinkle, but just barely. His Bentley Glazer was very, very close to taking that third place from him. Josh Conker for Private Label Team Hype also finished in fourth, and Chris Hudson will fight for a playoff championship next week at Chicagoland. He makes the round of 4. James O'Brien was 6th. Waldo Walden, a great run for him in P7, and Brandon Walter could not quite make it. P8 was a good result, but not quite enough to make the round of 4. Eric Papineau and Byron Johnson, pair of great races for them too in the 10th and 11th. Josh Daniels, by my calculations, should make the round of 4 as well. Steve Loving, Clayton Ham, Jose the Funky Cold Medina, and Byron McDonald rounded out the drivers on the lead lap. Tom Amasi went one lap down. Pat Harvey ran into early trouble, but still brought it to the end of the race. Again, needed to win though tonight, so it did not quite work out for him either. Mark Kalin had a troubled day once again in 18th, and Lou Christian and Adam Zemke rounded out the top 20. Then 21st, Richard Regan Jr. had a comfortable second in the bag, had the championship 4 in the bag. He will not fight for a 2022 playoff championship. He will fight for the Season 4 championship, but it got a heck of a lot closer. Jeff Hollingsworth, Robert Besaw Jr., and Mike Witt went 10 and 11 laps down respectively. And then the used car lot down at the bottom of the table. Skip Gandy needed to win. He was out early. Joe Hoggard, Paul Crumry, Eric Hogg, and Joao Guerra were the 29 drivers who finished the race tonight. But the driver who finished the race first tonight, Abner Acosta, I just got one number for you. 50. You've done it. 50 wins in the PRL.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get a win this season, how things have been going. So glad I was able to finish without getting killed. So yeah, we're very happy with that.
Well, you know what we got to talk about. I guarantee you were probably having flashbacks, because when you saw Trent lose it out of 4 right in front of you, I imagine you were having memories to some previous races this season.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just figured I couldn't dodge him or something. I just hit the brake, and I'm glad my car stopped and I didn't get killed by anybody from the back. But yeah, as soon as I saw him come back up, I was like, well, we're dead. But I guess that didn't happen. I was still able to catch to the front, which was crazy.
I mean, I got to say that was a masterful application of the brakes. You didn't lock it up. You got it slowed down just in time. You think all that road experience helped you out?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I just hope I can keep doing it for the rest of the races.
So the Season 4 championship, of course, has been up and down, but you will fight for the overall championship in the playoffs for all of 2022. You're in the championship 4. How are you feeling coming into Chicagoland?
I'm feeling really good. I feel like this season, even though I haven't finished a lot of races, I feel like I'm actually a lot faster than last season. Like, I'm better saving tires. I've been doing really good. It's just things has happened and I just can't get to finish. So yeah, no, I feel pretty good. Obviously, Trent's gonna be really strong. He always qualifies strong. He's good at saving tires as well. And I guess Rich might have gotten kicked out with what happened to him top 4.
Richard didn't make it, so it'll be you, it'll be Trent, it'll be Josh Daniels, and it'll be Chris Hudson.
Yeah, so I mean, it's NASCAR racing. Anything can happen. I know me and Trent are going to be super strong, and Josh and the other guys are strong too. So anything can happen. Late race caution, things like that. So we just gotta qualify in front and stay ahead.
Anything can happen, indeed. We wish you good luck next week, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Abner Acosta, 50 wins in the PRL. He'll fight for a playoff championship as well. But Taylor is getting ready to talk to Trent Dinkle. About a 15 thousandths of a second. They're up into second.
How about the drag race to the finish there for you, Trent, as you come home second place, beating Bentley Glazer to the finish there. And of course, a little bit of a quiet night for some points of the race, but then the battle with you and Richard also. Walk us through tonight's action for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just annoying, to be honest, because every time we would start on fresh tires, we would get a caution. And then everybody that was driving their tires off that had no idea what they were doing, then their tires got a little bit of a reset. And then, yeah, I think before we pit the first time and the second time, I mean, I was way faster than Richard, but I mean, I was just getting blocked all over the track, and it was annoying. And I mean, I'm good friends with Richard, but that was not fun. Every time I would try and go high, he would block me all the way to the tri-oval. Anytime I would get a run in 2, it was a block. And then, I held him a little bit high coming out of 4, and then he doors me, and that pretty much ruined my race because I had to pit 10 laps earlier than everybody pretty much. But I mean, it was good. Abner got a win. He didn't get murdered by a lap car tonight, so I'm sure he was pretty happy about that. So yeah, and then we'll just get ready for next week.
And speaking of next week, you're going to once again to compete for a championship. Walk us through the emotions of that, where you get to go head to head with a teammate, plus also Josh Daniels and Chris Hudson.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm going to be nervous, obviously. I mean, I wish I couldn't be nervous, but I will be. So we'll just do a lot of laps this week, and to some degree it sucks having to race with Abner for that, but we're going to have to kind of practice together so we don't just go in there and we both look like idiots and somebody else takes the win away from us. So yeah, I think it'll be a good race. I'm excited for it. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot like what we just saw tonight, and yeah, some people that might not be in the playoffs, I think, could drastically influence what's going to happen in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Before we let you go, would you like to say thank you to?
Yeah, private label for sure. Ethica, big thanks to like Abner, James, Josh, Brandon, working all week, practicing, trying stuff out. Big thanks to my mom, because I know she's watching, and a big thanks to the other people that are watching, because I really appreciate it. Gets me motivated to go try and win these things. So yeah.
Well, that is Trent Dinkle, who will be competing for a championship here next week at Chicagoland Speedway. But he had to do a little bit of racing here tonight to the line, as Bentley Glazer will come home P3. He is with Joey.
Indeed, he is. Bentley, drag race to the line. Were you leaning forward in your chair? Were you trying to rock yourself forward a little bit extra?
A little bit. I was kind of surprised that I actually got to him. He was doing a really good job even on those older tires. So that was my one shot, and it was close. And I'm just glad I was running the bottom earlier, and I almost pushed up and got into him on the straightaway, and I really didn't want to do that again. So, and my tires were pretty much used up, so I was just following him, hoping he'd mess up, but no, he did really good.
It seemed like you loved one specific line. We called it the Bentley Glazer line. At least in the end of the run, you were running about a car length above the bottom in 1 and 2. Why'd you flock to that?
I felt like I was, getting a little tight in the center where I could wait on it and then have it arc down to the bottom. But, obviously it wasn't fast enough. I think Trent and Abner were definitely the cars to beat. I think Trent had that. He got almost turned and had a pit early, so that went into play. I think if he was able to do his strategy, I probably wouldn't be around him. But it was a good race.
Chicagoland next week, another 1.5 mile track. So I guess you got to be feeling pretty confident coming into next week. But it's going to be an interesting race. We got 2 championships being fought for, but there's still you and 28 other drivers to fight. How do you think Chicagoland's going to go?
Should be fun. Slowly. Last time I was at Kansas in this car, I wrecked and it was bad. So this is definitely an improvement. And Chicagoland will be really fun. Hopefully. It sucks when those guys are racing for the championship and you want to win. So, you kind of have to back off when you probably don't want to, but that's all right. They've worked all season to get here. So, just hopefully stay clean and have fun.
So is that how you're going to come into next week? Are you going to be racing our championship 4 a little bit differently than you would otherwise?
If I got a shot to win, I'm definitely going to race hard for it, but if I'm a third place car or fourth place, I have no problem getting out of their way.
And well, congrats again on the top 3 tonight, and hey, maybe next season you'll be in the championship 4 after 2023.
Yeah, we'll try.
Bentley Glazer 3rd place tonight at Kansas. I wanted to talk to 5th place Chris Hudson because I wanted to talk to him after making the round of 4, but I guess no Chris Hudson tonight, Taylor.
Unfortunate for him here, but of course he is going to go and compete for a championship, so it's going to be exciting to see him battling with Daniels, Dinkel, and Acosta.
And we have just gotten official confirmation from the number wizards at the PRL. Dinkel, Acosta, Hudson, Daniels. That is your championship 4 at Chicagoland Speedway. There will be 2 championships decided. There will be the Season 4 championship, which will be between Trent Dinkel and Richard Regan Jr. I don't think Josh Daniels will be... he might be in mathematical contention, as will Chris Hudson, potentially. We'll have to work that out, but more importantly, it will be the equally importantly, I won't put too much importance on one championship or the other. You get the idea. 2 championships to fight for next week at Chicagoland. And actually, there's a driver who just showed up in the interview booth. You know what? We got time. Let's not wrap up too early. Let's talk to Mark Kalin just for a moment or two, because you were so gracious to show up here. I guess what happened tonight, Mark? Talk us through it.
Just an innocent bystander, minding my own business, and then just slammed in from the side out of nowhere. And
that's Kentucky Sign Language.
It's just a damage control after that, and gave myself a little more damage about the same time the second caution came out, but I was able to finish, so I'm happy with that.
And when you were on fresh tires at the end there, doing some trying to get your laps back, you did pass Trent Dinkel for position. So I think what you're going to do is you're going to take that clip, you're going to cut the ticker off, so it just looks like you were passing him for the win.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I can take that.
We'll put that in the Mark Kalin highlight package for this season. But, what's coming up this week? We got MX-5s for you. We got GT3s for you. We got trucks for you. I don't know. Give us a preview of the week. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm looking forward to Zandvoort tomorrow in the MX-5s. I'm looking forward to the trucks on Wednesday. I don't remember what the track is for Tuesday night, but yeah, we're what, 2 weeks away from ending the season, so I'm looking forward to it. Trying to get a strong finish here and see what we can do.
It's Suzuka tomorrow night, I think, if I remember it correctly.
Suzuka.
It's probably Tuesday night.
Yeah. Yes, I like Suzuka. I've had some. It's 50-50. I've got good runs and I've got bad runs. So, but I like Suzuka. I know the track well. So we'll see what we can do.
All right. Good luck this week, and I'm sure I'll probably talk to you like 3 more times.
All right, Joey, you take it easy.
That was Mark Kalin of Kentucky. Good Kentucky boy. P18 tonight, unfortunately, though, for him. The Mark Kalin season continued, but he doesn't seem too displeased about that. He's happy to just be racing. But anyway, we are prepared to wrap up here. Like I said, 2 championships to fight for next week. But this is not the only PRL series every single week. Of course, there is Sunday Night Cup Series action every single week of the season. There's also MX-5s and GT4s on Monday. There's a GT3 doubleheader on Tuesday. There's trucks on Wednesday, and there is the IRO4s and the F3s on Thursday. So we hope you'll join us for all 5 nights of PRL action, or we hope you'll join us for however many nights of PRL action you can here on RaceSpotTV. Until we see you next time, from me, from Taylor Burris, from Hugo Luis, from Nick Hunter, from everybody at the Precision Racing League, we thank you for tuning in. Until we see you next time, so long.